His reach was longer than George. He's a better boxer than George. And I'm better now than I was when you saw that 22-year-old undeveloped kid running from Sunday Lister.
Ali gets him with a good left hook inside. A furious exchange.
I'm experienced now, professional. Jaw's been broke, been lost, knocked down a couple of times. I'm bad. Been chopping trees. I done something new for this fight.
I know he was very fast in those hands, but at foot, he wasn't that agile anymore. If I could keep him moving, he'd eventually get tired and slow down and stop. That's what I was trying to make him do. No, I wasn't hurt. I got caught a good jolting blow, but I wasn't hurt, no. My objective to win, regardless of how I won.
7 points, Norton. 5 points, Ali. There it is!
On September 28th, 1976, a critical chapter in heavyweight's golden era set to come to a close, and Muhammad Ali put his undisputed crown on the line against a familiar foe, Ken, the Marine Norton. Pair were tied at one split decision each, headed into a long-awaited rubber match, and they would settle the score in the house that Ruth built, Yankee Stadium. The rivalry between Ali and Norton began in 1973 when the Marine scored a massive upset, winning the world title and breaking Ali's jaw in the process. In addition, Norton showcased an effective jab, a rock-solid crossguard, and was an expert body hunter. Ali wasn't entirely out of it though, owing to the split decision, but Norton had outboxed Ali and stopped the greatest in his tracks.
One of the greatest upsets again in boxing history.
The loss put Ali in a dark place, one that he would work diligently to escape from. He trained tirelessly, bouncing between chopping trees and hitting the bags. He was desperate to get his belt back and get revenge against the man who'd shut his mouth with a wire. Ali fared much better in the rematch. Even though it was still wildly competitive, he wore Norton down over 12 rounds and recaptured his title against a man that had haunted him for half a year. While the tactics weren't expected to shift a ton in the rubber match, their paths to this third collision took extremely different turns. In classic storytelling terms, this part of Ali's career would be the falling action. He had bested some of his most iconic foes and defended his title multiple times.
He's got to stop this. He's broken him up. He's giving him a mandatory 8 count.
Between 1973 and his 1976 date with Norton, Ali had felled Foreman and beaten Frazier twice. He also fought across the globe, competing in places like Germany, Malaysia, and, of course, Manila and Zaire. But these epic battles had taken their toll, especially the Thrilla and Manila. Since that brutal war, Ali seemed to be just about done with the boxing thing. The years and rounds had left him a little less spry and significantly less motivated than the pretty-faced loudmouth who'd shocked the world in '64. While the 34-year-old couldn't dance from bell to bell like he used to, make no mistake, he was still Muhammad Ali, a world-class entertainer and a superstar of the highest order. The public were still happy to say they saw him live, even if they did it from the nosebleeds. He was older, sure, a little bit softer in the middle than the man in the highlight reels, of course, but the greatest was still winning. While some criticized Ali's recent performances and opponents, he was insistent that he was merely saving energy for something serious. And against the Marine, it was deadly serious, because while many thought Ali was beginning to show signs of slowing down, Norton was on one of the best runs of his career. Following the second Ali fight, Norton had to rebuild, and not just from that one loss. He went from losing a contested split decision against Ali to being trounced in under 2 rounds by Big George Foreman.
And all vicious left and Norton crumbling to the canvas.
The next 2 years, Norton rebuilt and placed himself back in title contention with 7 straight stoppage wins, with 5 coming before round 5. He was determined as ever to prove once and for all that the loss to Ali was an anomaly and that the greatest had a superior. In the pre-fight build-up, Ali told the press that he wouldn't dance. He would stand his ground and KO Norton in the 5th. And once the boxers were in the ring, he still wasn't finished with the gamesmanship. He repeatedly sauntered over to the opposing corner, his coach half-heartedly keeping Ali's playful aggression at bay as Norton played it cool. The Marine wasn't intimidated, returning Ali's classic sneer with a mocking, wide-eyed response, the expression giving way to a battle-eager grin. Even though the men seemed easygoing during the pre-fight introductions, the stakes were nothing short of legacy-defining. With 24 rounds behind them and 15 to go, the heavyweight titans answered the bell for the final conflict in a dead-even rivalry. The fight began, and the intensity was already at a fever pitch. Ali went from doing a bolo windup to sprinting to stand in front of Norton, all while wearing the meanest face he could make. The greatest wanted action, and he was willing to go get it if Norton wouldn't bring it to him. Ali attempted to stick Norton behind the jab and pelt him with long-range right hands, landing quite a few as Norton stepped in. He also relied on feints to set up near karate-style blitzes to push Norton back whenever he got close to the ropes. He even added in some hooks, but they were extremely sparing and didn't quite land due to Norton's excellent cross block and effective jab. But if Norton wouldn't move back, Ali was happy to crash in and roughhouse, either by quick tugging grabs on the neck or leaning on Norton if he dipped low inside. He also threw Norton out of position with frames as the Marine tried to duck the right hand. And while Norton wasn't totally dominated this round, his only real success was a lone body hook and the fact that he rode with or blocked most of the heat headed his way. Other than that, he missed most of his significant offense. It was a frustrating round for the challenger for sure, and I'd bet that's exactly what Ali was going for. Over the next couple of rounds, the men battled on familiar terms, each seeking windows of success that could define the later rounds. Norton was really starting to dial in the foundation of his game, the jab and feinting dips. The dips did two things. One, it allowed him to duck under and ride away from impacts. Two, it worked as a cover for overhands and hooks to the body, since Norton threw them from a similar starting point. And, since he was having more and more success with his jab, this pressure was working to set up some solid overhands and some gut-wrenching body hooks, like this clip where he lands both. But there were moments he didn't need to look for Ali, because the greatest was willing to stand there and test his high guard. This was a risky game, because even though Ali was adept at minimizing serious damage, Norton could still sneak through with some stout leather. Still, Ali's high guard looked to be the same nuanced quicksand that seemed to just absorb punishment. Ali, for his part, continued attempting to maintain space with backsteps and straights, but now he was looking for a pinpoint right hand that shot under incoming jabs, like this one that threatened to knock the hinges off Norton's jaw. And he'd punish any elongated Norton outburst with a sprint of his own, often in the final minute of the rounds. Lastly, Ali was starting to do some great work with his clinch too, taking advantage of Norton's constant forward attack, even if it was getting on the ref's nerves. This was the same hold he'd used in their previous bout, but Ali's lack of floating gave him more chances to implement it. And even though Norton had faced it before, it was shaping up to be just as much of a conundrum. Anytime Norton would get close or dive in, Ali would immediately capture a single collar and elbow control, often snuffing Norton's onslaught after a single punch. Take for instance this exchange. Notice how Ali's high guard almost automatically gives him inside control just after Norton connects, effectively shutting off the trajectory for further hooks. Plus, pay attention to how tight the single collar is. In their earlier fight, Norton was able to negate the clinch with uppercuts. This time, since Ali's single collar was essentially glued to Norton's shoulder, any shift for the uppercut would just push on the frame and not allow for the angle necessary to generate real power. And the way Ali captured elbow control is interesting too. He didn't just hold it, he pulled it in. So it was either jammed against Ali's midsection with no ability to punch, or it was stuffed between them for a similar effect, like here.
Over the top. Get in on this, coming over the top with Ali.
Even though Norton successfully shrugged past the collar frame to land an uppercut, his lead arm is just stuffed inside with nothing to do. Ali closed the third in good position, and even though he didn't land much, these late round pushes were more for the judges than a genuine attempt to close the show, because to be fair, he said he was saving that for the fifth. The fourth round started well for Ali, with him continuing to strike out at long range as Norton tried to navigate the distance, and then he would stifle the Marine when he got too close. Even when Norton connected with whipping overhands, Ali's clinch would find its way into position and earn him a bit of breathing room. But Norton's attacks were getting scarier and scarier with every connection, whether Ali stuck him in the clinch or not. And the bigger the impact, the more Ali looked like he was holding for safety rather than controlling the position. His defenses were holding up too, allowing him to more easily stick Ali to the ropes for heavy leather to the head and body. He ended the frame strong, but he'd need to keep it up to avoid Ali's 5th round prediction. And keep it up, he did. Both athletes started fast in round 5 and looked primed to settle it here, but Norton quickly took back control, crowding Ali to the ropes for a heavy hook to the body. After the ref broke up the first clinch, Norton had Ali on the ropes again, but this time, Ali didn't try to escape or even clinch. He waved Norton on as the Marine bombarded Ali's defenses with an arsenal of gloved firepower. Norton worked Ali like a heavy bag, occasionally tapping on Ali's arms before he ripped through the target with thunderous hooks.
Ali is floundering around now.
Even when Ali had space to escape, he stood his ground and invited the Marine in, allowing Norton to continue where he left off. He also mixed in uppercuts and battered Ali's body and head with mean-spirited hooks, sometimes doubling up to the same side in an attempt to throw off Ali's defenses, but Ali simply wouldn't budge. The greatest would even push and frame, only using the space to speak again before allowing Norton to sink back into attack mode. Norton eventually broke through though, stumbling Ali with a right behind the ear and bouncing him off the ropes with a left hook. But as bad as it looked to the judges, this was Ali's wheelhouse. He used this expert high guard to minimize damage where he could, enraging Norton with repeated taunts to egg him on. And this was important, because even if Norton occasionally got through with something serious, and he did, this was a multi-minute outburst, something Ali knew that Norton couldn't keep up forever. And just when Norton started to slow, Ali grabbed a clinch and angled off the ropes for a late push to make his 5th round prediction come true. Ali bounded forward with 2 punches that missed, but then he connected with the same combination, adding on a left hook that whiffed, and he dove in again, but was shoved away. Norton wasn't deterred and grazed Ali's nose with an overhand. The pair briefly clinched, and then Ali flowed through a 4-part combination that bounced along Norton's arms. So, instead of blood, instead of a knockout, Ali drew a neighborly wave as the pair moved back to their corners. And, in terms of optics, the greatest didn't fare much better to start the 6th. Norton's jabs and feints were as effective as ever, pressing Ali back for some thunderous impacts that, while mostly blocked, still shook Ali when they landed. And when Ali tried to taunt Norton with a look that said, "Who are you trying to hit?" Norton responded with his fists, right here, and shot an overhand into Ali's jaw, and then landed another one that looked even worse. But then, Ali adopted what we'll call the little brother defense. He began holding Norton at the edge of his range with an outstretched arm. While holding your glove out like this is a lot more policed in the modern day, the ref didn't seem to mind it here. This tactic, while basic on the surface, worked like a measuring stick, helping Ali keep Norton at bay while having what amounted to a laser sight for his right hand. It also clearly annoyed Norton as he swatted at it like a fly on a summer's day. Even though Ali was working his way back into the ringside commentator's favor, Norton was undeterred and landed his most meaningful punch of the fight. The Marine hit a jab and then a stabbing liver punch that folded the champion like a lawn chair. He ended the round with another left hook that left Ali hunkered behind his guard. For obvious reasons, the champion spent the 7th trying to reassert himself in the bout. Ali mostly tried to keep Norton away, walking him into damage whenever he got the chance, focusing on hitting the Marine as he pursued the fight. Instead of looking for a clinch, Ali pushed Norton away, kept the challenger moving, and was relentless with combinations that occupied Norton's hands for blocks and parries.
He's picking those right hands, he's waiting for that right hand to come in.
And even though Norton's head movement and crossguard were as rock solid as ever, Ali wouldn't stop trying to connect with something serious until the frame ended. The 8th started much the same, with Ali hitting an impressive counter on Norton as he careened into range with a body shot. Ali pulled away from Norton's punch as he backstepped into an extremely shallow southpaw stance. You could also call it a square stance if you want, but the important thing is that it created the same conditions as countering a jab from the outside southpaw position. Ali's right hand shot through Norton's jaw, but just like their previous fights, the Marine seemed utterly unaffected and kept moving forward. Plus, Norton had adjusted his crossguard to compensate for Ali's combination striking, adopting a leverage block to negate the right hand. Simply put, Norton did not like how the 7th went, and he leaned on a full Marauder mindset as he tried to claw back control. He walked Ali down and stuck him to the ropes like a nail on the board, trying to punch straight through the champion with every whipping shot. He even got creative, like when he unleashed 4 left hands in a row, 5 if you count the touching jab that kicked it off. And though Norton was moving forward like he was standing on a conveyor belt, his defenses were possibly as good as they'd been all night, knocking Ali's punches away and even hitting a counter jab in this highlight. Ali wouldn't be overwhelmed though, occasionally answering back even when things were close, but his connections only resulted in a frustrated sigh from Norton. The challenger was an unrelenting force of bad intentions, and he punished Ali anytime he tried to trade. And as the 8th came to a close, Norton knew he just dominated the frame, yelling at Ali with 2 words that we cannot quite repeat.
He said something to him that time.
Up to this point, the competitors had a rather flat-footed affair, with Norton winning out in most of the tit-for-tat exchanges. His nearly airtight crossblock had dulled most of Ali's sharpest weapons, and gave him the opportunity to pound Ali in a bunch of the previous frames, his focus on the body resulting in the most eye-catching moment of the fight. That said, Ali had been working a multi-phase exhaustion game with Norton. He used the clinch to off-balance and wear on the challenger. When Ali was outside, the constant circling required Norton to chase him down. And even though Ali's stationary rope-a-dope didn't look great to the public, the reality was that Norton's endless barrages came at a cost, one that Ali hoped to exploit as the rounds wore on. Round 9 began, and the greatest must have put on his dancing shoes during the break. Ali spent most of the round frustrating Norton with his lateral movement and his patented flicking jab, but Norton was making Ali work. The greatest needed the full repertoire of his footwork. He used his off-rhythm backstep to turn Norton. When he got crowded, Ali would either slip away by stopping short to switch directions, or he would feint to cause hesitation to buy himself time to escape the ropes. In terms of weapons, Ali mostly stuck to the jab, but he occasionally let off some potentially damaging leather, catching Norton with a couple good right hands and a nice left hook that snuck under Norton's elbow. Eventually though, Norton cornered the champion and held him in place with a pawing lead hand. Then, Norton uncorked an overhand that looked like a flash, but probably hit like a truck. The commentators yelled out in response.
Now, a tremendous right makes Ali grab and hold on to Ken Norton in the neutral corner.
While likely hurt, Ali stayed standing and captured a much-needed collar tie as Norton tried to rough him up in close, using the referee's break to circle back to the open. And the champ wouldn't let that overhand define the round if he could help it. He closed the round looking for big impacts as Norton narrowly avoided several whipping knockout blows. Ali began the next round, still dancing and shooting out his jab, but it wasn't long before he was back to being the relatively flat-footed Ali of the first 8 rounds. And though Norton found some success in the early going, Ali wasn't just sitting back anymore. He was willing to trade even if he was against the ropes. Plus, Ali was much more elusive, tagging Norton and avoiding most of what the Marine threw back. And when the pair would trade, it was Ali that was making the better connections, even if Norton's crossguard protected him from the worst of it. But that doesn't mean Norton wasn't doing his absolute best to track Ali down, even if he was missing. In the closing seconds, Ali went for another combination that mostly found the mark, but Norton wouldn't let himself be outdone, answering with a grazing overhand that had the men trading until the bell. The 11th started like they never took a break between rounds. Ali opened with a pair of hook combinations that spurred Norton to action, leaping in with 2 traveling hooks. And again, the world titleists were on even terms. In a stunning turn, Norton decided to quit hunting. He'd try a role reversal and give Ali a stationary target to try his best. Impressively, Norton avoided most of Ali's punches, taunting the greatest as he dipped and dodged the leather headed his way. And when he finally left the ropes, he went for an overhand that barely missed. And when Ali tried to dive back in, Norton avoided those punches too, talking to Ali between volleys. Norton was fed up with Ali, moving forward with disdain behind excellent head movement and a force field cross block. While Ali connected with a good left hand, everything else was wasted effort. And just when the men were appearing to wear down, Ali connected again with a series of straights. This time, they were flush, scoring shots that rocked Norton back where he stood, but Norton had rolled with them, leaving him in prime position to try for his own right hand. And the Marine tried to bully Ali against the ropes like he had multiple rounds earlier, but the fight was too close. Ali quickly circled off. The men battled it out, with Norton regaining some of the momentum he had in the first 8 rounds. He landed his best overhand of the frame and followed it up with 2 stabbing hooks to the body. Norton was happy with his work, and he let Ali know, prompting a face shove that earned the champ an escort back to his corner. Ali entered the 12th, still pissed from the previous round. He aggressively angled for openings and set up some good early work, like this hook from a feinted right hand. But Norton wouldn't give up on his renewed success so easily. Norton's lead hand started finding the mark, disrupting Ali's offense in the process. Then, he landed another jab, followed by a stunning straight that put a buzzed Ali on the ropes. Even though Ali initially tried to fight back, Norton was simply overwhelming as he pounded the champion at every level. And again, Ali found his way back into the fight, but he had to bite on his mouthguard to get Norton to cool off for even a second. That's because connecting with Norton often meant accepting a return ticket. Then, Ali made a final push to sway the judges, connecting with a punch that drew a definite reaction from the poker-faced challenger. Whether it was a real connection or a thumb in the eye, we can't quite tell. But either way, Norton was immediately bothered by it, unlike anything Ali had landed before. The champ tried to capitalize, but the bell just got in the way. The next 3 rounds would be absolutely critical, and both men were determined to leave Yankee Stadium as the champion of the world. And across the next 6 minutes, the ring erupted, giving the New York fans their money's worth.
Seems to put himself out on a limb and saw it off and then survived.
The fighters engaged in a tug of war with the world title, either trading or going blow for blow as the momentum rocked like a ship in a storm. Both men pursued the fight with killer intent, fully committed to every strike they threw, even the ones they missed. And though the fighters showed some serious craft, like this excellent short-stopping left hook from Ali, the stakes were too high and the fight was too close for either man to ease off the gas. Ali was much more willing to open up, and Norton was delighted to oblige with potential knockouts attached to each swing of leather. But the greatest aggression was constant and effective, especially in the 13th. But Norton was still an unrelenting force, and while he was undoubtedly tired, he wasn't nearly as tired as Ali needed him to be. Because of this, Norton was often the last man throwing, regardless of whether or not he connected. When he did hit the mark, it was a massive impact. And by the 14th, Norton's jab was back in full force, and his defenses were as sharp as ever. Plus, he was repeatedly hitting the target with monster overhands that clearly got Ali's attention. He even hit a nice uppercut and ended the 14th with a decapitating right hand. While the ringside commentators had Norton ahead by a large margin, unbeknownst to them, it was dead even on the judges' scorecards headed into the 15th and final round. Ali changed back into his dancing shoes for the final frame, tossing out jabs as he circled around Norton's eager pursuit. And he'd occasionally mix in more meaningful offense, but it was still high risk, even in the 42nd minute, because Norton wouldn't let Ali run away with it, crashing in whenever he got the chance, like this impressive combination that moved Ali into a rope-bound overhand. And he kept winning out when the fighters threw at the same time. In the final 30 seconds, the men wanted to leave no doubt, especially Norton, who was careening forward to land just one more bomb. Ali gave it back a bit too, but he was much more focused on hitting and not getting hit. But Norton wouldn't make that easy. He charged forward with an overhand right and nearly spun himself around with a failed left hook. The pressure had worked, because with 10 seconds to go, Ali circled right into the corner, and Norton kept him there for a whirlwind of flying leather. He swayed Ali with a right hand, and then crushed him with a multi-story combination that threatened to chop down Ali from the top or middle. When the 45th minute elapsed, Norton was incensed. He was sure he won it, shouting at Ali before running into the arms of his cornerman. And to the shock of Media Row and the broadcast's ringside scoring panel, the winner by split decision, the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Norton was in disbelief, breaking down in tears mere moments after the decision. The loss was a tough one, and something that Norton would later admit majorly affected his motivation for the rest of his career. For Ali, this was as close as it got. He pulled it out and put another career-defining rivalry behind him with a tally in the win column. But that was on paper. To this day, Ali Norton 3 is one of the most disputed championship decisions of all time, and one that truly represents the stylistic quagmire the men found themselves in every time they stepped in the ring. And even though he didn't get the win, the world knew that the greatest had an equal, and his name was Ken Norton. For the Modern Martial Artist, this has been Coby McKinley, wishing you happy training.